I want to just begin by congratulating Equator on 20 glorious years. I have had the opportunity to interact with RJT, Ramesh, during my stint in Titan, as well as very recently during my stint in Tata Sons as well. And I know the fascinating work that all of you do at Equator. So firstly, heartiest congratulations. You know, the Tata brand is a fascinating brand. You asked for a couple of stories. So let me narrate the stories first, and then let me talk about what the idea of the brand is. Okay. I want to go back to I'll come to some contemporary stories later, but let me go back to the very first story. How many of you know that the first industrial enterprise founded by the Tata Group was founded in the 1870s by our founder, Jamshedji Tata? It was called the Empress Mills in Nagpur. And it became a very profitable enterprise. Within a few years, I think, returned to its shareholders more than 20 times their capital within a few years. And he used the latest innovations, the ring spindle from the UK, which even the UK mills were not using. He's located the mill in Nagpur, which was the center of the cotton industry. He built a lot of depth of expertise on cotton and the category. And he made brilliant textiles. It was perhaps the most profitable mill in India at that time. But he did something else, which represents the ethos of the Tata brand. In 1887, he established a pension fund for workers, the first of its kind in the country. In 1895, he introduced accident compensation for the workers. In 1901, he introduced a provident fund scheme for his workers. And a few years later, by the 1920s, Empress Mills had creches for the children of the working women. This is more than 100 years back that I'm talking about. So many people asked, why is he spending so much money on employee welfare? Doesn't this wealth belong only to the shareholders? And I had the privilege recently of reading the only published speech of Jamshedji Tata, which he made in 1895. And look at what he says. People asked him, why do you do all this? And in the speech, he responds, and these are beautiful words. He says, we do not claim to be more unselfish, more generous, or more philanthropic than other people. But we think we started on sound and straightforward business principles. Considering the interests of our shareholders our own, and the health and welfare of our employees and the community, the sure foundation of our prosperity. So look at what he says. He says the interests of our shareholders is certainly very important. They are like our own interests. But at the same time, the welfare of our employees and the community is at the center of what we would like to do. And what I'm delighted about is that philosophy that our founders set forth more than 130 years ago is what the Tata Group is living with even today. Titan has created employment for people from rural Tamil Nadu, or the work that Tanishq is doing for karigars in the jewelry industry today. It's the same story of being dedicated to the community through the work that you're doing. So that's one story that I want to narrate of how the community has been and will always continue to be center stage for the Tata Group. The second is that the Tata Group has, I think, always looked at industries which are important to the nation and which the nation can be, will benefit from in the future, and which the nation can be proud of. Right from Tata Steel, which was established because Jamshedji Tata wanted India to have its own steel and not import it. And I can talk about Tata Airlines, which is now Air India, which was founded because J.R.D. Tata thought civil aviation was very critical for the development of the country, or the trucks business by Tata Motors in the 1950s, or, for instance, the Tata Consultancy Services, India's first IT services company in the 1960s, or you take branded iodized salt in the 1980s, or you take Tanishq in the 1990s, or you come along the entire, or you take Tata Digital, which is setting up a new digital venture today to create a digital ecosystem across the country. So I think the Tata Group has been committed to the concept of nation building through its businesses. And that has also remained consistent through all these.